Nine Kings is a subgenre hybrid of base building and roguelike elements that's quietly been gaining traction throughout 2025, specifically within a small niche of titles. At first glance, the game doesn't seem like it offers much, offering very simple mechanics, but once you dive in, it is clear how deceptively deep it is. The sheer replay value alone is huge enough to engage players who enjoy pushing systems to their limits and crafting builds that actively break games in many satisfying ways. Well, that is, if you can break the game before the game breaks on you. Because it's early access, there are many issues once you start tackling the endgame, because there's only so much the game can handle before it ends up breaking under the stress of 10,000 pixelated rats freezing and skipping across the screen to wipe out your enemies. Early on, it can feel demoralizing. Learning which builds can counter each king is mostly trial by fire. Take for example an army of lab rats. It might sound great, being able to one-shot enemy troops in speed and style, dealing above 9,999,999 damage and a huge wall of text, while scaling modifiers insanely high through features like the library, farms, and even blacksmiths. That is until they jump into a warlock's AoE after the game has frozen long enough to stack every rat together to get obliterated on a higher endless stage. Understanding your units, synergies, and how to play to your strengths while making peace with each king and waging war against the others to gain specific spells and units and modifiers is key. If you don't, you will constantly fail and never make it far into the endless of endless modes. The core idea behind Nine Kings is simple. Defeat each of the 9 kings. Currently, there are only 7 available, with 2 unreleased kings hinted at in the future. Again, this is an early access title that is actively being updated, and I do mean actively. It's like every single time you open up this game, huge changes have been made to every element. The developers are clearly listening to feedback and implementing changes very quickly, which is always good to see. Developers that actually care and are making short work with every update. Nine Kings uses a zoomed out 3D pixelated isometric art style that keeps things clean and readable. It's surprisingly clear for a game juggling armies, tiles, enemy waves, and ongoing upgrades. Nothing feels overly cluttered or confusing, but it does become broken when you've gotten everything under control and the game just cannot keep up with your units. Despite the constant lagging and crashing issue, the game allows you to get straight into the strategy portion of the gameplay without having to spend hours understanding all of the UI elements. This makes it very accessible for those who just want to get in for a quick session and to get out. Everything that you need is laid out front and center. Cards are at the bottom, shops and relics pop up in the middle when active, there's a well for selling cards sitting on the left side, and expansion options appear on the right once you've reached a certain stage. It's minimalistic in style but functionally solid, without sacrificing essential details or any of the fun factors. It's also not too big of a deal, but the music, while good, eventually becomes stale as it repeats for each and every encounter, only changing when you've reached the boss stages. I just think it would be nice to see some expansions on this, preferably with each choice of king. Once again, the gameplay is simple on the surface, but tough to master until you really understand the synergies and how to build around them. You wouldn't want to face off against a king that directly counters yours. And recognizing those matchups becomes a part of the strategy. What's the best approach? Well, to experiment, play around, get a feel for each king, learn what they are capable of, and mentally track which units or mechanics to avoid. The game rewards knowledge just as much as creativity. For example, if you have picked up a rainbow card that can be leveled up individually, don't waste it all on one tile. Get some duplication cards, spread it out, use other cards to level them directly, synergize, expand, and make the best of the low tier and high tier cards, and you can end up with some insanely broken combos. Remember that each king plays completely differently and brings a unique challenge to the table, unless you're running the King of Nothing, as he is a great pick for learning the basics since it doesn't rely on complex mechanics. In contrast, something like the King of Greed requires you to build around high gold gains and cards that scale off gold pools for bonus attack or attack speed. The learning curve may be steep, but once it clicks, you will never want to stop playing. When you place a card on the field, you are initially limited until you expand. You're placing either a structure or a unit. You can then continue stacking the same card on top of the existing one to level it up and boost its power. This is where the synergies do start to matter. Structures like the forest, farms, beacons, and blacksmiths can grant buffs to nearby units and also towers, increasing the attack, speed, defense, and more. It turns every placement into a strategic decision, where the order and position of your cards can make or break a run in the long term. This layering of buffs and positioning is what makes Nine Kings so engaging. It constantly challenges you to think ahead and to maximize every space on the board. After each night that you survive, you will be able to choose one new card based on the current king that you're up against, unless you've chosen to gamble for 2 randomized cards. This adds a layer to your choices. If you're in need of a specific unit or a structure, you can then choose to face a particular king whose card pool matches what you're looking for. Once that king appears, you'll be able to freely choose from and re-roll their available cards, giving you a chance to fine-tune your builds when you need something specific. The more you play each king, the more they level up, and the higher they level, the more modifiers you can apply for future runs. These modifiers range from extra gold, special cards, to bonus levels, re-rolls, and other powerful boosts. With the sheer variety of playstyles and mechanics that this game offers, you are easily looking at over 20 hours of gameplay already. For an early access title, that says a lot about its potential and how much more content the developers have packed into the experience so far and continue to add. So if you're in the market for a game that not only looks and plays great but also delivers consistent updates based on community feedback, Nine Kings is absolutely worth your time. With the daily and weekly updates, it's clear that the developers are committed to improving and expanding the experience. For a roguelike strategy-based builder, it's satisfying, clean, and highly replayable, and this is why I cannot recommend it enough.